because it is only in the land of the living that there is activity. We thank you that it is well with us. It is well with our loved ones. That is why we can come here. We thank you, oh God, because we know your spirit is already here to touch hearts, to turn around situations, to do incredible things in righteousness. Lord, this morning, oh God, we just ask you to have your way. Do the things you want to do. Visit us again in the mighty name of Jesus. Thank you. And we welcome our online viewers. If you're just joining us, brace for a good time in the presence of the Lord. Stay tuned and don't go away. Thank you.
Yeah, it's about you, Jesus. It's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. It's all about you. It's all about you. Well, it's all about you, Jesus. It's all about you. It's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. It's all about you, Jesus. It's all about you. It's not about me. It's all about you. Hey. It's all about you, Jesus. We want to come to that place of our first love. When we just knew him afresh, you know how happy you were. How excited it is to just come to his presence and just bless and worship him. That is the place we are coming into this morning, where we want to know him more for ourselves, where we want to embrace him, his love, in his mightiness. That is why we have come this morning to worship you, Jesus. It's all about you, oh God. Lord, set our hearts, oh God, on fire for you, Jesus. We just want to know you more, Lord. We just want to burn for you, oh God. Well, Lord, nothing matters, oh God, to us, oh God, but you, Jesus. We are coming to that place, oh God, of worship, oh God. That place, oh God, of worship, oh God, of lifting incense to you this morning, oh God. Oh Lord, set my heart on fire for you, for you. Oh Lord, please set my life in order for you, hey, for you. Oh Lord, set my heart on fire for you, Jesus, for you. Say, oh Lord, please set my life in order for you, hey, for just wave your hands, oh God, and worship Him this morning, Lord. Say, Lord, I want to know you more. I want to know you more, Jesus. I want to be like you. I want to talk like you. I want to walk like you, Jesus. Where you say I go, that is where I want to go, Jesus. If you say don't go, I don't want to go. Jesus, I want to know your ways, oh God. I want to know your heart, oh God. This is my cry, Jesus. I want to know you more. I want to know you more. I want to know your heart. Lord, I want to know your heart. I want to know your way, Jesus. Help me to talk like you, Jesus. I want to know your way. I want to know your heart. I want to know your will. I want to walk like you. I want to be like you, Jesus. I want to talk like you, Lord. I want to know your way, oh God. Help me to know your ways. Help me to know your will, Lord. Help me to know your ways, Lord. Help me to know your mind, Jesus. Help me to walk like you, Lord. I want to know your ways, Lord. I want to know your will, Lord. I want to be like you, Lord. I want to be like you, Jesus. Help me say, I want to know your heart. I want to know your ways, Lord. I want to know your way. I want to know your heart. I want to know your heart. I want to know your way. I want to know your way. This is our heart cry, Jesus. This is our heart cry, oh God. Lord, help us to know you, Jesus. Help us to know your will, oh God, for our lives, oh God. Help us, oh God, to work in the purpose, oh God, that you have destined for us, Jesus. We want to know you more, oh God. We want to know you more, oh God. That less of us, but more of you, Jesus, is our prayer this morning. Less of us, but more of you, oh God. Lord, help us to know you, Jesus. Help us to seek you at all times, oh God. Help us to know your ways, Jesus. Help us to know your ways, Jesus. Help us to know your ways, Jesus. Help us to know your ways. Like a symphony, all in
Kings and the Lord of Lords. He's Lord over our lives. He's Lord over our homes. He's Lord over our businesses. He's Lord over our families. He's Lord in every situation. When we are high, He's Lord. When we are low, He's Lord. He is our God. And we'll continue to worship Him. Good morning, everybody. Will you please be seated? Good morning again. So this morning, for the women's prayer, we thought to do something a bit different. And I don't know how many of you saw the posters we did that came out. Please move forward. Please move forward. It's going to be an interactive session. And we said, the men speak. You know, it was very subtle. And it was meant to, create people thinking, what are we talking about? I don't know how many of you saw an Instagram post of PT dancing. I don't know how many of you, I saw it. In fact, I said, PT, you are the winner. So last week, was it 2 weeks ago now, we had a conference called the Better Man Conference. And we said to ourselves, when you have 700 plus men gather together, that surely something was going on. And something did go on. So we said to ourselves, okay, this is the ladies' breakfast, but it would be nice to have a little snippet. Some people call it cronje. It depends on, just something, they should just give out some insights of, what happened. It's always supposed to be very coded. In fact, when I called them, they were like, well, no, we don't want to say anything. We're not supposed to say anything. We said, no. Just come and tell us. Just give us, a little insight. We have brothers, we have husbands, we have sons. Let's hear what the men are saying. So, without much ado, our three guest speakers or guest ministers are members of the House of Freedom. They need little introduction. So, I will call up Pastor Ayo Aderibigbe. I will call up Pastor Dele Balogun. And I will call up Pastor Kashope Akindele. What we're going to do is to ask them to speak to us. Each person will speak for about 3 to 5 minutes. And then we would now take 1 or 2 questions. And if we have a bit more time, then we will pray. And so I will be the moderator for this event. So I will be the only women amongst the men. I will ask Pastor Ayo to please go first. Oh, you speak last, okay. Pastor Kashope, please come on. Go first. Yes.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies. Okay, so I was part of the team that, planned the conference. First thing I would say is that we had a lot of ladies that really, helped make that conference a success. Mrs. B, Tenny, Mercy from admin, Nonso in Peter's office. They were really instrumental in putting that conference together. And when we did the conference, the intention was to have something just for the men, because it seemed like it was a hard thing to bring men together to hear issues of spirituality that affect men specifically. And we found out that at the earlier stages of the registration, the women were more aggressive about registering their men, registering their husbands, their brothers, and their friends. But later on, we saw the interest of the men start to really rise. And on the day of the conference, it was quite a powerful conference, The things that we planned, that we thought that we'll have maybe 20 men do. We had a health check. We had we had a doctor and some nurses here to just do the simple test that we men we need, like blood pressure. I have a blood pressure machine at home. My wife asks me every night, have you checked your blood pressure? And I say, I will check it, but then I don't. But there was a long line of men, just for that purpose, and the blood sugar as well. And that just made me realize that, look, we may appear not to be concerned about these things, but really deep within we are. We just need the right kind of motivation, the right kind of push. And we had to shut that down, really. I said, okay, guys, go and eat. And the men struggled to go and eat the food that we thought they would go for. So that was a crucial part. So I think that was the tone of the whole conference. The men were eager to get more from God about their spiritual lives and about other aspects of their lives, which, I won't say everything, so others can say. But there were different areas of the lives of men that were addressed on that day, not just the medical and the spiritual. And the men were really eager. In fact, we had follow-up events that we have to replan because we didn't think we'll have so many men interested. So we are replanning all the follow-up events. So I think, summary, what I'll just say is that the men in our lives, they really just we need the right kind of motivation, the right push, just to do the things that we, deep within us, we want to do, And I'm saying that. The right. We'll get there. Okay. So let me not speak for more than 3 minutes, I'll pass the mic.
Okay, so we've heard from Pastor Kashokbe, and we hear from Pastor Dell.
Good morning, ladies. So first and foremost, evidence that you guys mean so much to me. I don't wear suits. I made such an effort this morning. I made such an effort. I'm sure even Pastor Tony will be proud of me today that I'm not letting the side down. It's lovely to be here. I think I've been able to sneak into a ladies' meeting maybe once or twice over the years, but this is I think my third time, so I'm glad to be here. It's impossible to talk about the men's conference and not repeat because Pastor Kashokbe has said really the things that happened, but I'll sort of go over it again. So this room looked amazing. I don't know if you saw pictures of what this room looked like on that day. It was unbelievable. We had tables everywhere. We even had tables upstairs in the gallery. It was so beautiful. And there were so many men. And what that kind of told us or told me is that, you know how they say it's women that run after God. Men don't really have time. They're busy doing other things. It's not really true. We all want God. We all want to live better. We all want to be better. And that was one event that definitely showed it. So prior to the beginning of the event, there were the health checks, like Pastor Kashokwe said, about blood pressure, all that stuff. When I arrived, they shoved me, every event, there are always some wicked people, right? So they shoved me into the exercise section because people were working out, sweating, looking. I'm sure they wanted to disgrace me, but I surprised them. Don't worry. That's for another day. I surprised them, But it was good because, I worked out for 10 minutes, personally, and I haven't worked out in a long time. In fact, it reminded me why I need to get back into exercise. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. So in my 10-minute stint, maybe after like 7 or 8 minutes, I was really doing well for 7 minutes, and then all of a sudden I faded very fast, towards the end. But two things happened in that 10 minutes, two things. A testimony for me came through. I don't know, most people here wouldn't know. I was involved in a domestic fire a couple of years ago in my house. And I had a fracture in my foot, and I was on crutches for about 8 weeks. So it was in that 7 minutes that I realized I could do everything I could do before the fire. I've never tested myself properly. So I'm thrown into exercise, I'm jogging, I'm bending, I'm doing all kinds of stuff. I'm checking myself, are you doing all these things? And I was. So that was, in a sense, healing for me, and I thank God for that. And then we came into the actual program, and breakfast was wonderful. Breakfast didn't want to end. 700 men wanting to eat breakfast. You know how we eat. But then it came to the meeting, and the meeting was so profound. The meeting started at, we were here from 7:30, breakfast ended about 8:30, 9. We were here till 1. And at 1, everybody was here, practically. You know, and that tells you, that's another thing that tells you that men want God, because the average men's meeting, 1 hour later, we're half empty. But here there was definitely something happening. I'm going to leave also a few things for Pastor Aya to say, because he's going to fill us with the details. But the bottom line is that every woman has a man in her life. It may not have to be your husband, but there is a brother, like our moderator has said. There's a brother, there's a son, there is an uncle, there's a husband. There's someone that will do better with the right support structure. So we all stand, we all look nice, we all kind of put on our airs, but the truth is we need support, if much more than you can ever imagine. And with that support, we will be so much better. So what tends to happen, what I find, and it sort of came out also on that day, is that the women are waiting for the men to be better. Am I correct? Is that even true? But the men need the women to become better. And if we don't understand the symbiosis of that relationship, then it's going to be everyone's waiting for the next person. Now, the truth is the men don't necessarily know that they're waiting for the women. It's just that they do better when they have the support. It's not that they're thinking, when my woman supports me, then I will be better. No, that's not how we operate. But with a certain type of environment and atmosphere, we just blossom. So, don't ask me what should I do and take notes. I can't give notes. I'm just telling you that there is a role that only a woman can do, and it enhances and brings out the best in the man. We are here, we are present, we want to be better. Help us.
Thank you. Yes, Pastor Ayo.
Good morning, ladies. And thank you very much for inviting me to this event. See, over the years, I've been wondering what happens at this women's conference. Every Sunday, they will tell us about this. They will show us these video clips. We men really, what are they talking about? And they are going week after week. Then they say the people that are not even members of the church come. So I'm pleased to be here. Thank you very much. So, the Better Mind Conference. I think I'll just highlight a few key things so we can have some takeaways from this. We had over 700 men to an event in a church called the Better Man. So that tells you men want to be better. Okay? So that's the first thing. So every man, like Pastor Dell said, in your life wants to be better. Whether it's your husband, your brother, your son, men want to be better. And one of the first things that, so I'm talking about takeaways now, said every man needs at least 4 areas of his life to be monitored and looked after. Okay? So these are 4 areas that we women need to encourage the men to look after in their lives. And the truth is, some of them apply to the women as well. The first is the health. Ladies, there are no issues for a lady feeling a pain and calling the doctor. Right? In fact, my wife would tell me, I'm feeling a pain here. She would talk to me about it. Me, when I discover a pain, I don't tell anybody. I don't even tell her. I keep quiet. Now, it's not unique to me. It's a man thing. Right? When we get to heaven, we can discuss that with God. It's a man thing. So, going back to what Pastor Dell was saying earlier, women need to recognize that men do not generally look after those things that they need to look after, and therefore, they should get interested in those areas. So, for those of us that are on medication, like my wife checks, do you take your tablets? Are you taking your tablets? Are your tablets finished? All those sorts of questions are good questions to ask. But more importantly, men should have checkups. The older they get, they should do checkups annually to have everything checked, their plumbing, everything. Okay? So, First thing they told us, we all need to have medicals. The second thing is we all need to work on our fitness. We had a doctor in the house that explained to us that as we grow older, our metabolism changes. In fact, he went on to explain to us that just like you don't expect a child to only still be drinking milk as they grow up from being 3 months old to when they get to 1, where you start offering them solids. He said, and that was news to me, at a certain age, some things you shouldn't be eating anymore at all. Right? And one of the big ones he said was sugar. Men, sugar and salt, cut it out of your diet when you start to get to a certain age. He actually said cake should be only on anniversaries. Can you imagine that? But anyway, so we had a doctor talk to us, and we had the issue of our fitness and the fact that we need to exercise. That was the second one. So encourage your men to exercise. And exercise doesn't necessarily mean go to the gym. There are things you can do in the comfort of your home, sit-ups, push-ups, skipping rope, all those sorts of things. That was the second one. The third one was in the area of financial planning, that we all needed to pay attention to our finances. And that's a bit obvious, but yes, people should have a financial planner. Families should have financial plans. We're not going to work forever. At some point in time, you're going to stop working. We tend to live longer these days by God's grace. So how are we going to stay around and not be a liability to our children? We need to have financial plans in place. So that was the third one. And then the fourth one, which is also important, is legal. In fact, they told us we need 2 lawyers. We need one lawyer that helps us to set up things and the wills and all those things, check over contracts for us. And we also need another lawyer for when we get into trouble to help us to sort out all those sorts of issues. So those were the 4 key areas that they spoke about. But I want to end on this note. What I call the complementarity of the sexes. Okay? So everybody talks about the archetypal role of the sexes. A man is supposed to provide, a woman is supposed to look after the home, a woman is supposed to look after the kids. We know it, we see it through scripture and things along those lines. But the real question is this. What happens when those roles are not playing out the way it is written out? So what if the woman is earning more than the man? What if the woman is the one who has the job and the man doesn't have the job? How do we deal with that? And this is an area that I think as women we need to be wise. In fact, I saw a scripture this morning. Proverbs 19:14. It says, houses and wealth are inherited from parents, but a prudent wife is from the Lord. And then I went and I looked up the meaning of the word prudent. And it talks about wise, judicious in practical affairs, discreet or circumspect, sober, careful in providing for the future, provident, a prudent decision. And what am I talking about here? So, you and your partner, your husband, women, as I said, men don't talk, women do. So women are usually the ones that find out information that can help the family. Okay? So you found out about this fantastic lesson that your children can go. But this lesson is quite expensive. But you can afford it. So how do you broach this subject at home? Do you just say to your husband, I found a school for my children? Or do you just go and pay for it? If you do it like that, if you are not wise about how you deal with your man, you are just sowing, you are just breeding potential conflict. Because men are fragile. Men have fragile egos. It's a fact. Every man has an ego. Every man is fragile. So, if you are going through a situation, right, in the home, if the man is currently not working and you are the breadwinner, remember, it's only a temporary situation. Sorry about that. It's only a temporary situation. We need to be wise in how we deal with things. So how do we broach issues? How do we encourage our men? Like Pastor Dale said earlier, men need a lot of encouragement. What men gathered to hear about and speak about on that Saturday was how to be better. How can I be better in my household? How can I be better for my wife? How can I be better for my children? So men want to learn. But they're not going to come and ask you. So you have to develop the art of answering questions that haven't been asked, but you know want to be asked. I think I'll stop at that point.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Wow, that was deep. I don't know if you enjoyed that session. I certainly did. A few key takeouts from me. I'll just summarize what I heard the three of them say. Men want God. I believe Pastor Dell said that. Men want God. And, that's very refreshing and, to hear. He also said the men do better with the right support. It's quite profound what he said, because we really need to stop and think about that. And it's not just talking of our husbands, it's talking of brothers, nephews, sons. They do better with the right support. The women are waiting for the men to do better. Are we? But like he also said, the men, they need the right support structure to thrive. There is a role only women can fill in the life of a man. Pastor Tony said something some time back. He said, the women are raising men or sons that they don't want their daughters to marry. He also did say that they are also raising daughters that they don't want their sons to marry. But, there's a role that only we women can fill. As a mother, as a sister. I know a case of a husband. He slapped his wife. The sisters held a family meeting for him. They held a family meeting for him. And they said to him that, you have 8 sisters. You are slapping your wife. What if our husbands were slapping us? How many homes are you going to come and fight at? His wife was very surprised. She couldn't believe it. But they took her side. Now, do you think that man will go and hit his wife again? When he counts sister 1 to 8, and he thinks of what will happen if he touches her again, he will think twice. So there is a role that, only the woman can fulfill. Because I can imagine if the man had 8 brothers and they called meeting, it may have been an entirely different conversation, Pastor Dell spoke about, or was it Pastor Kashokwe, exercise, which is very important, and how we can support health. One part I liked was finance and financial planning. Because I asked ourselves, Mrs. Akikungwe, Mrs. Mimi, she came here some time back. I remember she asked the women, do you have a will? Does your husband have a will? And those are some of the questions that we need to, I've told my husband. After that last plane crash, where we lost friends, the men. I woke him up one day and I said, do you have a will? Do we have a will? Because there are certain questions, and you also have to approach it with wisdom, because I have a boss in where I worked before. The problem in his marriage started when his wife asked him if he had a will. I'm very serious. And that was the beginning of her problems, because he said, do you want to kill me? So as women, we have to be wise, in the way we approach things. Pastor Ayo really said that, and I really, took a lot from that. That we have to be wise in everything we do. You have to be wise in even encouraging him to exercise when you think that the tummy is becoming too big. Don't just start abusing him. Just in a nice way, you start it and let him join you. You have to be wise when you want him to go to the doctor. You know, wisdom. Women, we need wisdom. Because I remember that my brother, there was a day I needed him to go for a checkup. In fact, the way I spoke with him, after I finished quarreling with him, I started quarreling with his wife that she should better get my brother to the hospital to do a checkup. But, you know, we all need wisdom. We're going to have some questions, you know, Q&A session, and we'll take about 3 questions. I have the first question because I have the mic. Pastor Ayo, you said something. You said that women, when you are the breadwinner, you know, you have to be wise, and I agree. You said, remember that the situation is only temporary. I agree. My question to you is, when it is not temporal, and it has become, because honestly, I have friends that this is a major issue in their marriage, you know, and, you know, it's 1 year, it's 2 years, it's 5 years, it's 10 years. So when the situation is no longer temporal and is now 10 years, as the women, what should we do? Where do we, you know, just a guide. What, you know, how do we handle those kind of things? Because it's difficult. Your friends, your bestow's husband just bought her a brand new BMW. You are paying school fees. What do we do?
Thank you.
Let's give them a round of applause.
So, this answer is me speaking now. I didn't hear this one from Better Man. So let's get that one. But there are 2 ways I can answer that question. I think the first thing I'll say is this. It's all about perspective. I'll give you an example. I'm in my mid-50s. My wife is in her mid-50s. We've been married for 27 years now. Now, when we were maybe first 5-10 years of marriage, issues like he's spending all my money, I'm the one who's paying for this, all of those issues that you're laying emphasis on were valid and were relevant, and they were things we thought about. But now we are in our 50s. 2 of our kids have finished school, virtually left home. So we have her handbag, right? And we are, by God's grace, living in a comfortable house. It doesn't really matter now whether the money was hers or it is mine. The truth of the matter is, where we are at now, fun is the 2 of us reminiscing about what life used to be 20 years ago. Right? And that conversation, I can't have it with anybody else and it will mean the same thing. Right? So now it doesn't matter whether the money is in my account or in her account. It really doesn't matter. And that's why I say it's a question of perspective. Right? There's a Yoruba proverb that says, it says something like, whether I'm the one that did it or you are the one that did it, it shall got done. Right? The whole essence of work is so that we can provide for our family. Our children, they can go to school, we can pay bills, we can meet all the obligations we need to meet as a family, go on holiday, and all those sorts of things. Right? It doesn't matter who's paying. Right? As long as both of you are heading in the right direction. Because when you are both in your 60s or you're both in your 70s, it wouldn't matter whose money it is. It really won't. So that's my perspective on this issue of timing.
Okay, so I totally agree with Pastor Ayo, but I have another perspective also. This is, the example you gave is a married couple. They're together, family. At the beginning of that marriage, presumably, you exchange vows. What tends to happen? So when I spoke earlier, one of the things I said is that the women are waiting for the men to be better. So this lady, this friend of yours, clearly has been waiting 10 years for her man to be better. The question is, what is she doing, or how is she supporting him to be better? She might be. I'm not saying she's not. But the point is, your vow says for better, for worse, which means that at the times when things aren't going quite the way you want or you planned or you expect, you don't give up. You don't decide the person has failed. Because what tends to happen, I've counseled this kind of situations as well. What tends to happen is after a year or two, the woman probably thinks this guy is never going to be up to any good. Let me just get on with my life. Let me just face my children. Let me handle it. By handling it, you lock him out. You've heard in 3 different ways today how fragile men's egos are, how much they need support. So at a point, this man might feel, well, you know what? I'm just here on my own. They don't need me for anything. I'm useless in any way. Let me just drink beer and enjoy life. Right? So that becomes his position. Not because he doesn't want to be better, but because there is no support to help him to be better. Now, I cannot say do this or do that. Is it start a business? Is it find out what he wants? You might be surprised that this guy has a passion, he has a dream, but there's absolutely, the wife could easily fund that dream with the right support, not by being his boss and his controller, but with the right support, fund that dream, and in 2 years' time, he's funding the whole life and everybody's family. So, and I've seen that happen. We have examples even in this ministry where the woman started the man's business, and that man's business is thriving to the point where he's funding the entire family today. So it's possible. The fact that it's 10 years for me means that there's something also that the woman might not be doing right. So we have to be a bit introspective and try and find out what can we change, what can we tweak. I'm sure it will work out. If they need counseling, or maybe we should suggest counseling to them.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Please, does anybody have a question? Who has a question? Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Chowendo Okorodudu. I just like to ask, I've been married for about 5 years now, and all those issues that have been raised are things that I've faced in my marriage, to be very honest. And sometimes I wonder if maybe I haven't been an enabler as opposed to being wise, and so how do you balance being there for him without being an enabler to habits that are probably not what you would want him to be doing, without being too fussy, without being too pushy. It's hard, really. Sometimes it's just overwhelming. I don't know if the men can help.
Does anybody have any other questions so that we can, have them answer? So her question is, if I understand what you said, that how do you support without being an enabler? Did I get that right? Okay. And yes, and enabling bad habits. So that's the first question. And then there's another question.
Good morning, everybody. My question is, I like the last thing the one in the middle said. He said, ask questions that they are not necessarily telling you to ask, but that needs to be asked. Like, you ask a man that, like the health issue, you know that there's something wrong, and then you ask, what's wrong with you? And they don't answer. And then you realize, okay, let's go to the doctor. And they said no. But they go to the doctor and you ask, what happened? They're like, the doctor takes care of it. Are you the doctor? Do you understand? How do you manage that? And then secondly, you talked about finance. Finance for marriage is, I know, one of the key issues. Now, you as a woman, you want to support, because I believe in that whoever brings it doesn't really matter. But But when you're supporting and then you realize that the man has some, but is spending it on frivolous things like artworks, and we're not talking small money. Do you understand? So why don't you now feel like, you know what? Where does wisdom come in that you be like, this home is more important than that artwork? Yeah, you might see it as an investment for years, but right now there's school fees and they're all that. So as a woman, won't you just, let me just pay these fees. Let me just do what I know it's right. They keep saying wisdom. How do you apply wisdom to things that are just, it's not right, it's not right. So,
thank you.
Wow, okay. First question, let's start there. It's actually not difficult to enable bad habits in a marriage because you want peace, you want there to be harmony. You feel, he's going through a phase. I don't know. I don't know your specifics. But the truth is that marriage was designed by God. Let's go back to the beginning, okay? So God is the only one that can keep a marriage. So therefore, the things that you do have to be God-centered. So if you find that you're going through, your marriage is a young one, 5 years. But if you find that you're going through challenges, you need to be praying about it. You guys need to be praying together, whether he really sees the point or not. Try and establish that as a habit. Because what that does is that it creates an unspoken agreement that God is the center of this marriage. Sometimes the men think, oh, just a chore. Let's do a 5 minutes prayer. Let me go. But it is an acknowledgement in a sense that, okay, there's God, right? We both agree. Now, if you know you are indirectly or inadvertently enabling a bad habit, you need to stop it because it's not really going to lead to anything positive. You need to prayerfully and with wisdom apply the right kind of pressure to get to where you feel you need to go. Now, I'm a man, and men will generally react not very positively if they feel they're being pressured. So I might not be the best person to advise you, but speak to a woman who has been in a marriage 20, 30 years. They will tell you how to apply pressure with wisdom and get the job done. It can be done. But please, go to a godly woman or not. There are different types. But there are types that with prayer, they will get. It's not that it's difficult. Men are actually easy to deal with, to be honest. We're not that problematic if you know what buttons to press. That's the truth. Am I correct, ma? Yes. I'm correct now. I'm correct. I know I'm correct. Okay. Should I speak for myself? No, but we're not. Honestly, I'll tell you the truth. If you know, by the way, all men are not the same. But if you study your man and you have understanding, men are not difficult to deal with. Second speaker, wow, it's quite a lot in that. Now I'm not defending the person that is buying art, but I went to an event about 7 months ago, and a gentleman, I think his name is Okusonya or something, was showing his art collection of this kind of brass. I don't know if anybody here was at that event. This kind of brass, like Benin kind of art. And it had just been valued at $50 million. Now, we need to pay school fees, okay? I'm not saying buy art and don't send the kids to school. But I'm saying there are discussions that need to be had. If the man in question believes he is setting down a foundation for the future of the family, don't just condemn it. Talk about it. If he's spending $1 million on a drawing, on a painting, and you think you can't afford that, ask him to buy the one of $500K. The point is, don't decide that it's a bad thing without enough of a discussion or enough of a deliberation to be able to say, okay, guess this is a great thing, but can we defer it for 2 years until this last child has entered, whatever. Just have a discussion, but it's not men are wired to solve issues. So I might think, university, America, $30,000 a year. Let me go and buy this art now. In 10 years, it will give me. Now, it might not make sense to anybody else. And it might even be a wrong idea. That's what's going on in my head. But in talking about it, you might be the one to show me that, bros, this your calculation can't work. Let's try something else. But it's not enough to just say what he's doing or what she's doing is wrong. Let's kind of keep the communication lines open. I hope I've made some sense.
Yes, thank you.
I think what I'll add to what Pastor Dell has said, or let me maybe expand on something he said that a few people kind of made noises in disagreement about, which is this thing about men are actually quite easy if you know how. And the truth is, most women know how. It's just that they use it for some things and they don't use it for others. I'll give you a few examples. In most families, where the family is living was a decision made by the woman. Yes. The schools the children go is usually the decision made by the woman. The furniture in the house is decision made by a woman. Whether the family go on holiday or not, it's usually a decision made by the woman. So if you think about it, women make most of these key decisions. But if you look under the hood as to how those decisions were made, they were not made abruptly. We were led there with our eyes wide open or our eyes wide shut. We were led there. I mean, I always crack this joke that, when the setting in the house needs to be changed, what will happen is there will be a conversation at dinner that says, this setting is even looking funny. Then 2 Saturdays later, what are we doing this Saturday? Let's just drive around. Let's just stop at this shop and see how their setting is. Then, this thing is not so bad, though. And that's how you are going, week after week after week after week. By week 6, all of a sudden, so are we changing this thing this week or next week? You've bought SETI. That's how it works. Now, the real point to take out of that is this. Don't dismiss, like Pastor Dell said, don't dismiss the idea as being out of hand. My wife has a very simple trick she uses, and it works every time. And I see the trick coming, I can't do anything about it. So, for instance, I've decided, or I'm thinking, we are going on holiday at Christmas. She will just ask a casual question. Why did you decide we are going on holiday at Christmas? And then I'll explain myself. And then she will ask a follow-on question. And then I will explain myself some more. Then she will ask a follow-on question. And eventually she will get to a question that I had not thought about before, so I have no ready answer. And because men are fickle, I can't be bothered to start thinking of an answer. I will now end up by saying, okay, so what do you want? And she will give me a very nice reason why December we should be at home, it's a family time, and this and that and the other. And she actually thinks we should go for holiday at Easter. It's only quarter to Easter that I will find out that was when one of our friends were doing their 50th in some place that she wanted us to go to. But she has led me there. So when a man is saying, I want to do this, ask the question, what is the reason behind this? Right? And if you have a better idea, come with the idea and start explaining those ideas. Because ultimately, you both want the same thing. Ultimately, you want the children to go to school. Ultimately, you don't want to be broke. Ultimately, you don't want to start something you can't finish. You ultimately want the same thing. But like we said, men are fragile. Their egos are fragile. They don't think too deeply about things in general. So lead them the way, and they want to be led. You ask a man, men, they come home in the evening. You ask him, what do you want to eat for dinner? He's going to look at you like, why are you asking me that question? They want you to make the decision for them. We want women to make the decisions for us, but let us feel like we are the one making the decision.
Wow, thank you. One key takeout for me. I remember, 2 things. I liked what Pastor Ayo said because he's right. The furniture in the house, Nami choose. The schools that the children are going to, I'm the one that decided. Even the fact that I just said, Chad, you know what? I don't want to go for summer. No, I'm not traveling this. I'm the one that took the decision. So, we do have power that, we use when we want to use. Another important thing is prayer. And Susan and I were just, Pastor Susan and I were talking about it. Dr. Okeunuzo said something once. He said, sometimes, when the woman is the praying person, she has the opportunity to navigate the decision making in the house, or, to how she wants it to be. So let's also not forget that we are praying women. And in everything we do, we should really pray, because prayers, I've seen marriages turn around because the woman took it to a place of prayer. I wanted us to take one question from something to do, not about married people now, single, a brother, somebody who is not married, or just one last question. It's 10:05. If you give us another 10 minutes, is that okay? 10 minutes, so a question, yes, thank you.
That's why I raised my hand. The senior chick constituency, duly represented. Since I see that all the men on the panel are married, so mature single men cannot be better. So we know whether it's a hopeless journey. Because a lot of what has been said here is really, you need a lot of patience. Exactly what Pastor Ayo says. So you need to it's a process that you walk with the man. That's when you are in a mutually invested relationship. But when it's the same scenario, the woman is probably earning more, or the woman has evolved and developed a level of independence and has known how to take care of business, and you do it instinctively. And then a guy comes in and is expecting you to do this mothering. You are taking care of business. Are you in or out? What are you doing? And basically, it's a challenge for mature singles, because this mothering thing, on top of what? You have not said anything. You have not made any commitments. You want me to be, excuse me. But it's a real challenge,
Okay.
Because that investment is not there. So where do we start from? Okay, so you say, let me be submissive. You put in the investment, and the guy say, oh, she's too desperate, and it's like a losing battle before you even wear the armor.
Thank you. I say please clap. It's very important. We have clapped. Let me clap. Now, very quick question while you were saying that came to my mind is, who is driving? Who's driving? So, you are used to driving. You now want to enter a car that was designed to be driven by a man, because that is what it was designed to be driven by. Can you release the steering wheel? Is the first question. No. That's the first question. Because you are used to handling business. You don't have time for breakdance. However, you may need to make time for breakdance, because that might be what is required. Now, I'm not saying go and invest time in a time waster. You too have to be, that's why you need God to start with anyway. So you have to decide who might be worth the journey. But guess what? You can't drive that car. It's not possible. And that is the biggest challenge for the mature single constituency, because they are good drivers. The car even belongs to them. So, because they've driven for so long, it's hard to now say, oh yeah, come and drive. We don't even know if he can drive. You don't know if he has license. You don't know. So, I understand it's a genuine concern, but that's where God comes in. So, a mature single shouldn't be interested in experimenting. A mature single should be looking for a godly decision. And where you know God is in a decision, then you are ready to let go of the wheel and let God take his course. My view.
Fantastic.
all I'm going to say is that these questions are beyond my 4-year marriage knowledge. So I leave it to 27-year marriage and Pastor Dale.
I think what I'll just add to what Pastor Dale said is, in love, you've got to be vulnerable. And you've got to be willing to be vulnerable. So you prayerfully have to let go. You know, we've talked a lot about wisdom. And people say wisdom. Wisdom is applied experience. Right? It's applied experience. So, and it doesn't have to be your experience. Right? So, take soundings from wise people around. Find out about this man. What is it he's looking for? Right? The truth of the matter is, men, mature single men, are lonely too. Right? They are lonely too. There's only so much bravado you can. Remember, there's going to be the swag any which way. Everybody's going to make it look like, you know what, I'm cool. I can handle it. But the reality is that they are lonely too. So you just have to invest the time to be vulnerable. After, of course, you've taken soundings from people that know. But prayerfully, it's not that hard, really. It's not that hard. I don't know whether I'm saying anything, but that's my...
Thank you very, very much. I think it's time to bring the meeting to a close. It's past 10. It is time for us to take our offering. So please, let's take our offering. We've announced many times that we want people to volunteer for the snacks. So please come and, somebody has offered to pay for the snacks for the next meeting. So please come and see me. I paid for the snacks today because we didn't have snacks. We're not getting enough money from the offering. So please give generously. If you don't have cash, we have POS machines at the back of the hall. There's a gentleman waving the POS machine, so you can pay via POS. I'd like to welcome all the new guests here. If you're a new guest, please raise your hand. No new guests. We have one. Excellent. Thank you very much. You're welcome. We have a welcome pack for you. I would like to encourage our members. I'm sure you all agree this was a really wonderful session. Yes, I hear yes. So it would have been good if the hall was more full. You know, so we have another meeting in 2 weeks' time, and it's going to be a musical meeting. We're going to have Efe and we're going to have Bumi George. So please invite new guests to this meeting. I would like to welcome those of you joining on us online. I hope you enjoyed the meeting. Please join us again in 2 weeks for our next meeting. And so, ladies, it's time to bring the meeting to a close. Thank you for joining us. See you again in 2 weeks. Remember to bring new guests. Remember to please see me if you would like to volunteer to pay for the refreshments that we have. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you for logging on to our broadcast today. We hope you join us next time. If this message has touched you in any way and you would like to listen to it again, simply log on to our website at www.thispresenthouse.org, and to give in support of any of our various causes, just click on the Give Online link on the homepage. God bless you as you give. To find out more about This Present House, you can log on to our website at www.thispresenthouse.org from anywhere and at any time. You can also follow us on Twitter with the handle @mytph, or like us on Facebook at facebook.com/mytph.